And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Golden Aura, we have the red Zerg player representing Starlight Twinkle. It is Wayne. And spawning in the top left, we have his opponents. We have the blue Zerg player representing Twisted Minds. It is YoungYakov. And it is just amazing to see both these players supported by some of these more international teams. Again, Starlight Twinkle, they did bolster their roster in Team League formats, in Team League tournaments, in picking up Wayne, and Wayne is a very solid pickup. I think a lot of people's eyes are on him as one of the more up-and-coming Zerg players. I mean, he's been up-and-coming for a while, ever since his, pre-identity crisis when he was Vanya, and then eventually Radita. And then eventually Wayne. Yeah, people have been having their eyes on him, and he is a very strong player. He's even taken down Serral in ZVZs in the past, even this year, I believe. So he's a very deadly player, very deadly opponent. But I can say the same for YoungYakov as he goes for a gas pool opener. Very aggressive here from our blue Zerg player, as he's going to be rushing into a much faster link speed. This could lead into a Bane bust as well. I'm very curious to see where the gases are going to be spent. Hatchery is finally taken. A very delayed hatchery here from YoungYakov. Lings are on the way. Eventually, link speed. And again, I'm curious where the gas is going to be spent here. Whether it's on link speed, whether we bank up gas for a Bailey Nest or a fast lair, or even fast roaches. The aggression is real. Meanwhile, Wayne, none the wiser. Standard opener out of Wayne. Hatch gas pool. Hatch into a gas, into a spawning pool here from our red Zerg player. Nothing too fancy. And even though Wayne is taking down players like Serral, YoungYakov, he has some big accolades himself. He took down Dark. It was a couple of months ago at this point this year in the OSC events where Wayne did bring down Dark. So both of them have had some pretty solid results here in ZVZ, but how do they face off against each other? There's link speed, and we do pull out a gas. Okay, interesting. So YoungYakov will have a much faster link speed timing here compared to his opponent. The Lings make their way across the map. It's going to be on Wayne to make sure he minimizes his losses and doesn't lose too many drones. Does pull back in time. Oh! Does pull back in time, and it looks like he will barely keep his drones alive. One of them is not going to go down. Oh my god. Very close there. The Queen pops, and Wayne will hold. Losing mining time, but not losing any drones. Oh! He does lose some Lings, though. Lings, they do take a lot of hits. YoungYakov being forced back. Now, remember a couple of things here. YoungYakov, with fast link speed, he's not droning. YoungYakov, he's cutting workers at 60. He's banking up Lings back at home. He's going for a massive link flood across the map, looking to kill Wayne here and now. One way or another, this game is about to end. Either YoungYakov kills Wayne, or Wayne survives. We have a third base on the way. No additional queens. Only 2 queens here for Wayne, and it feels like he has misread this a little bit. He's going for a full wall off Wayne. He hasn't seen much across the map. This wall, no, it gets stopped. It gets denied. No, the drone does not get the wall up and running. The Lings, they flood in. The Queen gets surrounded. The Lings are getting surrounded as well, and there's just too much here. The boys, they have to be pulled, but this is already becoming too much. YoungYakov, he has gotten away with this. He was able to hide this. He was not scouted. Wayne had no idea, and now it's too late. I mean, 18 drones going to be going down. The Lings are being cleaned up. But now, YoungYakov, he takes a worker lead. The Lings are coming out to reinforce. Wayne, he's down to 1 queen. He's down to 14 drones. YoungYakov, up in queens, up in workers. He's droning behind this, and he still has Lings to work with. Looking at the units tab, YoungYakov still has a massive amount of Lings, overwhelming what Wayne has. Yeah, the boys have to be pulled again, and things are just not looking good here. Things looking dire for Wayne. The Queen gets surrounded. The Queen goes down. GG gets called, and YoungYakov takes game number 1. GG catching Wayne completely off guard with a link flood. Again, Wayne, he was playing in the dark. He had no idea what's going on. He didn't link scout. To be fair, he had to defend against the first wave of Lings because that, remember, Wayne, he lost a lot of Lings in defense, which means he couldn't scout. He couldn't, typically in ZVZ, to wind it back a little bit. So usually in ZVZ, in the early game, you have to rely on your Lings to get across the map and to figure out if your opponent is droning or not. That's what you rely upon. But because Wayne lost his Ling defending, in the early game against YoungYakov, it meant that he couldn't go for a follow-up scout. He couldn't get a read on what was happening, and He was making some assumptions. He was going for a third base. He didn't go for a safety bailing nest. That was another big thing. He was going into two-base roach. And he was caught completely off guard. GG, well played. YoungYakov starting off with a lead in this series. And Wayne caught off guard, maybe being a little bit too greedy as well, especially considering when I say that Wayne was too greedy, just in the context of not being aware of what YoungYakov was doing, right? It's like he was taking a chance, he was taking a risk, and he was punished. Was punished for it in the end, and now we're getting into our second game, which will be taking place on Solaris. A map that can also lead to a lot of aggression, as there are a lot of speed zones on this map that do allow for Ling Bane to get a little bit more aggressive than normal as we do load in. Oh, and this could be a fast one. This could be a fast series here. We've already got game 1 in the books. We're diving into game 2. I'm hoping for a back and forth. I'm hoping for an ace match, but the pressure is on. And here we go. Spawning in the top right-hand corner. In top right-hand corner of Solaris, we have the red Zerg player representing Starlight Twinkle. Down in the series, but not out. It is Wayne. And spawning in the bottom left, we have his opponents. We have the blue Zerg player representing Twisted Minds, leading the series 1-0. It is YoungYakov. And for now, hatch first. We're going to be calming things down as we had an intense game 1, but here in game 2, hatch first from both players. Okay, everything is looking as it should. YoungYakov, of course, with a lead in this series, and even though he was very aggressive, even though he was all-in in game 1, by no means does YoungYakov have to rely on all-ins. No, he can take it to Wayne. He can go into a more standard macro back and forth instead. It is possible. It is likely. And it's what I'm here for. It's what I am here for. And yeah, so far, hatch gas. It wasn't just a hatch first, but hatch gas pool should be going into our third bases as well. This could lead into two-base roach, but unlikely here. And yeah, things are going to be settling down as we get into this game. When we head towards the early to mid game, that's when we're going to be seeing whether we commit to Ling Bane aggression. We'll see if one of our players tries to cut that Bailing Nest, go into faster roaches, rush into a fast lair, into mutas. The mid game can be very dynamic here in ZVZ, and it's heavily reliant on scouting. As you saw in the previous game, you need to make sure you're aware of what your opponent's doing, especially in a mirror matchup, because you both have the same tools available, and if one player gets away with something, then it can be difficult to catch up. Can be difficult to catch up and keep up in a longer game. There it is. Ling's speed on the way from both players. No one is skipping anything. Not yet. As we have our first Lings moving out as well. We mentioned before that in the early game you have to rely on these Lings to scout, and that's exactly what we're doing. We actually have a bit of a clash here in the center of the map, and Wayne does come out on top there. He does push through. Both players taking their third bases, and both players are about to confirm this. Wayne gets eyes on the third. We have a safety Bailing Nest on the way. Likewise, YoungYakov also confirms this as well. And we should be seeing a Bailing Nest from our blue Zerg player as well. There it is. Bailing Nest on the way. So pretty standard stuff. Third bases are on time. Bailing Nests are more or less on time as well. Wayne's is a couple of seconds faster, but I doubt that's really going to come into play. Doubt that's really going to be too impactful and influential here as we do head towards 3-base saturation. Again, everyone's joining. We have a couple of Lings on the way for both players, but that should just be to defend. We should be seeing a couple of defensive Bailings as well. There we go. Defensive Bailing on the way, just in case a Ling Flood happened to arrive. And no one is really making an abundance of Lings. everyone is still really just droning. We have a much faster Roach Warren here from Wayne. He's getting ready to transition out of Ling Bane into Roaches. YoungYakov one step behind in that respect, as he's still just saturating, still just droning. So this is going to be a bit of an advantage that Wayne has. I believe YoungYakov scouted, looking at his vision. No, actually he did not see the Roach Warren, but he does start up a much faster +1 range. So despite Wayne having access to roaches a lot faster, YoungYakov will have higher quality roaches faster instead. As, yeah, we have a much more passive game, which I'm pleasantly surprised by. You know, after what happened in game 1, here in game 2, we're just calming things down, we're droning on up, taking our gases. A lair is on the way for Wayne as well. No lair yet from YoungYakov, which is a little bit suspect. We should be seeing one soon. If we don't, that's when we can start raising alarm bells a little bit. As Wayne is going to be pushing. Now, this is just a posture. This is just to feign aggression and force an overreaction. And oh my god, we have spine crawlers on the way! YoungYakov, he's terrified. Nice bait there on that Bailing. And Wayne is pushing in behind this. He's droning, bear that in mind. Oof. Good connection there from Wayne. And yeah, Wayne, he backs off. He never intended to attack. He was just forcing an overreaction, and it worked. 2 spine crawlers, roaches were pumped out. YoungYakov was terrified, and Wayne, he was just droning. He was just chilling back at home. This happens very often in ZVZ, where you fake out an attack, you try to, especially because there are overlords everywhere, so because everyone sees all the army movements, you can just feign aggression, you can puff up your chest, and fake out your opponent. There we go, we do have behind this a Spire on the way, so Wayne trying to rush into mutas behind this. So far, unscattered. Meanwhile, YoungYakov, he's just droning up, working on his own lair. Getting a 4th base. Both players are, I should say. Ooh, and we have Overlord Speed. This is a little bit different. So, with Overlord Speed, we can go for some Drop-A-Lord Harass. We can try to dive into the main, hit the 3rd base, go for some multi-prong aggression. Can be a very versatile upgrade. At the same time, a Ling counterattack. Oh, gets 2 drones. But unfortunately, YoungYakov, he's going to be stuck at home and waiting. Remember, because of his later lair, that means later roach speed. Without roach speed, we can't really commit to an attack. And this means that this Spire, Wayne is going to get away with it. It does get scouted. Changeling comes in. Spire has been spotted. Despite that, I don't know if YoungYakov can really punish him. He's moving out, don't get me wrong, but these are slow roaches. The speed zones do help. We have 7 more roaches on the way behind this. YoungYakov, he is committing. But Wayne has the high ground. 6 mutas are on the way. 11 roaches as well. Wayne, he's not going mass muta. He's supporting with more roaches. He's only making enough mutas for map control and to one-shot workers. So a light commitment into mutas from Wayne as he doubles down on roaches. And here, YoungYakov is forced to back off. We have a Hydrogen on the way. This is a late Hydrogen, by the way. Despite how early YoungYakov scouted, this Hydrogen was just not going to be in time, so he does have to rely on Queens to defend instead. Overlords are going down. 4th base is looking very exposed, and we're going to not ignore the 4th. We go straight for the Spore. Spore is killed. And how many drone kills can we get? And YoungYakov, he's stuck. Like, he can't really counterattack. He doesn't have the army to counterattack. And Wayne, he's just getting further and further ahead. There was no Spore in the main! No shot, no Spore, no Queen. 10 workers go down. 11, 12 even. And this is becoming too much. These mutas, they've more than paid for themselves. Lost mining time, more worker kills. Ay, ay, ay. And now YoungYakov, he's forced all in. But the reality is that YoungYakov, he has less roaches than Wayne. That's the reality. He has to back off, and this has just been disastrous. Wayne is going to rotate over towards the 4th. And YoungYakov, despite the scout, he just was not prepared for the mutas. He didn't take them seriously enough. So Wayne has the concave. He pushes his way through. He's going to take some biles to the face. Ooh, does take some nasty biles. But he should still be able to overwhelm. We are even in upgrades. We just have a larger army overall as we force our way in. The mutas have been dealt with for the most part, but what about the roaches? What about the roaches here as Wayne, he has just far too much. He's taken an economic lead that translates into an army lead. GG gets called. Wayne will fight back, tying up the series 1-1. GG. Oh my god, GG, well played. Wayne getting out of control with his mutas, and I have to be a little bit critical of YoungYakov because he did see the Spire just before it finished, and his reactions were late. His spores were late, his hydrogen was late, his anti-air in general was delayed, and it was delayed in favor of the push. What YoungYakov did when he saw the Spire was move out with his roaches, and he was trying to do some counter damage, and he very quickly found out that he couldn't. He very quickly found out that Wayne had a standing army, and that the roach forces of YoungYakov couldn't really accomplish anything. And after that realization, that's when YoungYakov started throwing down spores and making more queens, and it was a late reaction there. It was delayed, and as a result, Wayne, he got out of control. GG, well played. It's always a risky maneuver to go into mutas like that, but it did actually pay off quite well there for Wayne. And yeah, he was able to fight back and tie up the series 1-1. We're going to the ace match. We're going all the way, Poppy, to game number 3. And oh boy, I still find this really hard to call. Like, even though in a more standard game here, Wayne was able to surpass his opponent, a big reason for that was the mutas. A big reason for that was the muta play, and if that wasn't really a factor, we would have seen a closer, more back and forth between the two. So we'll see what happens in Game 3 on Oceanborn. Here we go. As we are loading in. It all ends here. Final game of this series. One way or another. One will rise, the other will fall. And here we go, spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn. We have the red Zerg player representing Starlight's Twinkle, tying up the series 1-1 in that last game. It is Wayne. Oh my god. And spawning in the bottom right, going for a 12 pool, we have the blue Zerg player representing Twisted Minds. It is YoungYakov. I did want to mention this before, but a shout out to Twisted Minds for also supporting the scene, supporting StarCraft. For a long time, only Classic was on this team, but they have since reached out, and I believe YoungYakov and Nicaract have since joined their ranks. So really cool to see more support for some of the European players. And a 12 pool, it's going to be an interesting one. Oh, yes, he's up against a pool first. No shot. Wayne reading this so well, going for a safety pool first opener. With this, his lings will be later. Oh my god, he's going for a pool gas. My god, this is brutal. I don't want to go as far as to say this is okay. This is crazy. Okay, there's a lot going on right now. It was a 12 full into a 14 gas from YoungYakov. Very interesting build here, very aggressive. The problem is that Wayne went for an aggressive opener himself. He went for a gas pool into hatchery. Now, because of the timing of this, Wayne, obviously his lings are a little bit later, but that's fine. He has the defender's advantage and he needs the lings back at home anyway. With this faster gas, faster ling speed, which means Wayne, after he defends, he can counterattack, and he should throw down a Baneling Nest as well. So Wayne is looking to punish YoungYakov hard after YoungYakov fails to do damage. And I say that there's a lot of pressure here on YoungYakov to snowball out of control and to find value, but I just don't think he can. Meanwhile, with an earlier gas geyser, this means that YoungYakov is going all in. It means that typically we would be droning behind a 12 full, but that is not what YoungYakov is doing. He is going to be doubling down, waiting for his own ling speed, and there it is. Ling speed does start up for the blue Zerg. Armies will be clashing. The boys were pulled, and Wayne should hold on to his natural. The queen is coming down from the high ground, and again, with the queen, there is no way for YoungYakov to really do any more damage here. But he's not droning. Bear that in mind. Usually a 12 full leads into a longer macro game, but because of the earlier gas, we are pulling out of gas, by the way, YoungYakov, he's just going for a mass Ling Flood. Wayne also pulled out as well. And we'll see if the Queen's going to make a big enough difference. The Queens as well to support. The boys to be pulled. No Bailings from either player. Just pure Ling. Wayne is going for a bit of a run by. He wants to try to get a read on what's going on. Wayne, he's up in workers. Nothing has been made here at the natural, and Wayne is going to confirm that. The Queen, no! Gets surrounded. Big pick off, but the army gets surrounded. Who surrounds who, really? As YoungYakov loses everything, and now we can go for one big counterattack. Link speed about to kick in for Wayne, and this is disastrous for YoungYakov. Ay, ay, ay. Not like this. He has Lings of his own, yes, but looking at the units tab here, Wayne does have the Ling advantage. We'll see how he does engage. Oh, as he has the Concave as well. Brutal move command there, YoungYakov. He does force this back. Yeah, with the help of his Queen, he does push back Wayne. But Wayne, he has the economic advantage. YoungYakov, he's droning behind this. He's trying to catch up. He is trying to catch back up. He pulls back into gas. Can he pull this off? There it is. Baneling Nest is on the way here for YoungYakov. He just needs to survive a little bit longer to morph in some Banelings. The problem is that Wayne isn't droning either. Wayne, he's going for one big Ling Flood to end it all. Yeah, and he's going for it. And he just has far too much. He busts through the defenses, gets on top of the Queen. And GG is going to get called. GG gets called, and Wayne will take the series 2-1, taking down YoungYakov. GG.